Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wookieecast. Today we're sitting down with James Floyd. He is a frequent contributor to Star Wars Insider and StarWars.com, as well as having contributed to the old Star Wars databank. And his upcoming release, Star Wars Crossword Puzzles from a Galaxy Far, Far Away, is coming out on November 19th. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
I wanted to ask, how did you first get into Star Wars?
How did I first get into Star Wars? It was as a kid. It came out when I was a little kid, and I honestly don't remember when I saw A New Hope for the first time because I think I was that little. I do remember going to go see Empire in the theater, and of course I had a whole bunch of the action figures and made up my own Star Wars stories the whole time, and it just stuck with me. You know, when the Thrawn trilogy came out, I got it and was, you know, into the books and comics kind of ever since and just kept going.
Did you have any particular favorites from the Star Wars Legends era of publishing?
Um, wow, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that in a long time. Uh, some of my favorites. Well, I mean, the original Thrawn trilogy can't be beat for a great story. I did like a lot of the X-Wing books. You know, Mike Stackpole and Aaron Alston really found a good voice and really brought those characters to life. And I think they really nailed humor, which is something that's in the Star Wars movies, but sometimes some of the writers kind of forget are part of the saga when it comes to writing books.
The humor in the prequel trilogy was meme worthy. Uh,
That yeah, no, I love the fact that there's still that humor in the prequels.
yeah.
I really enjoyed the prequels. I organized big viewings at the theater for opening day with my friends and family and such.
As a super fan, have you been to any Star Wars celebrations?
Have I? I've been to every US celebration since Celebration 2, and then I've been to two of the London ones and Germany.
Very nice. So, you've been in the Star Wars fandom for such a long time, and one of the first things we have you credited for on your Wikipedia page is contributing to the old Star Wars databank. How did you go about developing that entry for Melee, I think it was?
Melee and Barrow Oiken. So those were what's the story features on the Star Wars.com hyperspace thing where they would let fans uh try and write or not try and write. They'd actually write the background for a minor character or a ship or something, and they would have the contest every couple weeks or something, and people would enter. And I think I might have the shortest amount of content created for anyone that created in the old Legends era. That one sentence of my Melee entry got used, and then the first name of Lieutenant Oiken, Barrow, was the only thing that survived my entry for that. So a first name and one sentence is my contribution to the EU.
I mean, it's still there though,
It's still
forever.
there. I mean, obviously they combined my entry for Melee with a bunch of other people's entries to make one story. So it's, obviously I helped shape that and some other people had the similar things in mind. Yeah, I had a lot of fun, writing those and entering them and, you know, so I'm pretty excited that even then, I got I got that far and got a little bit put in there.
So for this book, much further on, you actually get to write your own Star Wars book. So what was your research process for looking into what topics you wanted to include? Because there's obviously a lot of Easter eggs down in there. They're not all
For
high level topics, I guess.
Well, I try to make it, a wide variety of difficulty in the clues that, some are easy, and then usually there's like maybe two or three harder ones in each puzzle. Mostly I went off of my own knowledge of Star Wars so, fans of the old CCG or some of the Legends stuff, uh, you might find some names that maybe you might know more than other people. I mean, they're all still ones that have been pulled into canon, so it's all canon. Um, so there's nothing too obscure. And usually I try and for some of those try and make it a little easier. So if I reference Tamtel Screech, there might be a mention of like, oh, this is somebody who infiltrated Jabba's palace, so you can kind of figure out who it is. Um, but yeah, I kind of went with my own knowledge. I did research, on Wookieepedia, some research, different books, of course, to just figure out, how well known are these characters, or words that I'm dropping in. Um, yeah, that
Did you try to
you
get a
know,
spread from all different movies, all different time
abs
periods?
absolutely, that if you look at the book, the first puzzle is a Vader, and then the next couple puzzles, each one is set for a different movie. So there's a New Hope one in the shape of Luke Skywalker. There's Empire Strikes Back, which is Yoda's hut on Dagobah. And so the next couple, each puzzle is themed on a movie, and then we move into other themes that are maybe about a particular subject, like ships or droids or looking for Luke on Acto. And so it's really just themes like that where we can have a whole bunch of things together. Some are bigger themes like the dark side or the Jedi, and other ones are just kind of, I don't know, fun.
And then there's some non-crossword puzzles snuck in there between. Those must have been fun to design.
Absolutely. I like writing puzzles of all kinds, that word puzzles, logic puzzles, all sorts of puzzles. So the ones in here are different types of word puzzles. We have just a cryptogram, out of Arabesh. We have an acrostic type puzzle that I really enjoy doing. And then we have a word fill in that is just planet and moon names. And I figured that was a good way to include a whole bunch of planet names without having to write clues for them all, because a lot of these planets kind of are pretty obscure if you're trying to describe what they are or what happened there. And there's kind of a little joke in there too on that one. And then there is one called, I think, Maz's Mystery Square. It's kind of a reverse word search where you get clues to the words and then you got to figure out how to fit them in the puzzle.
I did notice that for the planets one, there was some even from Jedi Survivor, so that's interesting. Like the video game polls.
Yeah, that
The
Jedi Survivor makes a few entrances in the book. I really tried to stick to the movies and then the TV series. Um, but yeah, that there might be a Cal Kestis reference in there somewhere as a clue. Um, basically I cover, there's a puzzle just for the Mandalorian. There's a puzzle for the Clone Wars. There's one about Ahsoka that kind of covers Rebels and Ahsoka. That in the Planets and Moons puzzle, there is some High Republic call outs. Yeah.
yeah, I was noticing that. Was it were you working with the artist while you were making it to make sure that it kind of like fit around the faces of the characters? Because I noticed for Ahsoka's, it fits perfectly around her face.
Well, thank you. What my process was for that is I would find an image of, let's say with the Ahsoka one, I'd find an image of Ahsoka online and I would print it out on in reverse on the backside of the special graph paper that I was using, and then I'd trace the outline, um, and basically start writing the crossword to that in terms of, like matching it up to, okay, I'm going to avoid her face so we can still see her face, but then wrap around her body and her lightsaber, and fill in there. And then when I submitted it to my editor, I'd give them the image that I used so they could take that image and then turn it into the artistic style that is found in the book. Um, and as well as my puzzle, and then they would make it all line up.
I was glad to know that was intentional. I was like, this is too, there's happens too many times to be coincidental.
Oh yeah, my favorite one for doing that. Actually, I have two favorite ones. One is the episode one puzzle with Queen Amidala that I keep her face in white there, and then all her hair, and then and her shoulders and torso is all part of the puzzle, but you can see her face clearly. And then the AT-AT puzzle that talking about Hoth, each of the legs has a quote in them, and the quotes break down all pretty perfectly with the way the legs are shaped in terms of the diagonals and the bend and such. And it just happened to work that way, and I was rather amazed. And sometimes I even amaze myself type thing going on there.
I think it's great for any sort of super fan that you get into it because obviously a lot of people know so much about Star Wars trivia. Um, I'm sure some Wikipedians will have a blast because a lot of us tend to know too much, I think.
I'm sure, yeah, the Wikipedians definitely. Probably you guys will be the ones nailing it all. I hope I stump you guys with maybe a couple things, but I don't want to stump everyone too hard. I want it to be accessible to everyone, but also
Enjoyable for sure.
enjoyable. Yeah, I don't want people to hit their head against the wall. Um, but also I want them to feel a little challenge and maybe learn something that they didn't know before. That, when I do crossword puzzles and there's something that's like, I don't know that. And then I look it up, like the one or two boxes I didn't get and be like, oh, that's what that is. And I'll just add that to my mental vocabulary.
So obviously there's ones that are focused around just the films themselves, but are there any just random topics that you really wanted to put in that you just put in because you liked them, so to say? Like banthas would be random, but I mean they're common enough that you could get away with it, I suppose. Easter
Uh,
eggs.
They're well, in terms of like different puzzles, I'm kind of flipping through. I made one that is just creature related. So it's in the shape of a rancor, and either the answers are creature names or every clue has a different creature name in it. So I don't, I'm pretty sure none of the creatures repeat themselves in the clues or in the puzzle. So that was kind of a lot of fun to write. That I don't know what other ones that I'm just flip through real quick. I do like to put in quotes. Some of the longer like acrosses or downs are full quotes from a character, and sometimes those might be easy to get, like do or do not, but sometimes they might be a little bit longer. And so I try to put as many words that cross over it as possible so that hopefully it fills in enough letters so you can get the quote if you can't quite put together the quote from the movie.
That makes sense. So if you had the opportunity to do another puzzle book or some other publication for Star Wars in the future, what would you like to write about, you think?
Oh, well, definitely, I could definitely more Star Wars puzzles or other types of puzzles would be fantastic. If you've looked at my insider work, you can see that there's a couple things I really like writing about. Star Wars, visiting Star Wars filming sites is another passion of mine, and so being able to combine travel and Star Wars is something I really enjoy. In fact, I'm going to go to Madeira Island in December to visit Acolyte filming locations. Um, yeah, so doing something, kind of making a book about visiting Star Wars filming locations or Star Wars on location uh, is a dream project for me. If you hear me out there, you know, tell people let James do this. That writing reference stuff I'm always interested in. I've done my bit of Wikipedia work here and there. Um, and then, I'm in admin, although I'm not that active on the Indiana Jones wiki. So doing Indiana Jones work, it would be another dream of mine.
And there's some Indiana Jones
Oh,
crossover bit of
absolutely.
information
There's
with
there's there,
there's
there's a
so
lot of
much.
stuff. Yeah, that from the staff of Raw appearing to the classic Star Wars Infinities comic where the Millennium Falcon lands on Earth and Indiana Jones finds it.
So what around when did you start writing for Star Wars Insider? Was it before you started StarWars.com or kind of all around the
Um,
same time?
It's Star Wars.com came first, and then Insider came a little later. I started off writing for some different blogs, clubjade.net, which was a big EU and general Star Wars news site. I guess it was mostly more EU related. And then from there, I kind of moved on to Big Shiny Robot, which Brian Young was the editor of, and so I did a lot of Star Wars comic reviews for them when it's still Dark Horse. And then, yeah, back for Club Jade, I did a lot of Clone Wars episode reviews. I traded off each week with another person on reviewing the episodes and writing up other news and other reviews of things. Lego Star Wars is another passion of mine, so I've pitched several Lego Star Wars reference guides. Probably not going to happen, but that's something I really love, just the humor in those shows and such. But yeah, those are all kinds of things that I'd be interested in, and so yeah, then writing for those fan sites help get me into writing for StarWars.com, and that led into getting picked up to write for Star Wars Insider.
So I've noticed one of the particular ones that I've read was the one where you interviewing E.K. Johnston, but I've also noticed that you've interviewed several others. Are there any that particularly stick out to you that you enjoyed talking to those authors about what they're doing? Also, Build the Millennium Falcon was one of them, I think. The Build the
Oh
Millennium
wow.
Falcon authors.
Um,
Uh,
I don't know if it's Build the Millennium Falcon. I know I
um,
ever wrote one with Insider on the people who built the Millennium. You're right, different people
yeah.
who worked on. Sorry, okay, not a book called Build the Millennium
Oh,
Falcon. Yes, it
yeah.
was about people who actually built the Millennium Falcon, like Lauren Peterson, the model maker, and Charmaine Chan, who did visual effects for The Last Jedi and helped create the digital Falcon and such. Yeah, I love talking to people who write Star Wars, who create Star Wars. One of the other things I would write a lot for ClubJ.net was interviews with authors, and that was one of my main bags for StarWars.com for quite a while, was interviewing authors about their books. And it was really cool because for a while they kind of gave me some free reign, and I would just look at the publishing schedule and start picking out authors and say, "Hey, can I interview this person?" And so it was not just the regular novels, but it was also things like the Star Wars coding projects, or Are You Scared, Darth Vader? Just different books that would be coming out there that maybe people wouldn't know about.
To get them more visibility, because people would probably really enjoy them, even if they're not just the next Del Rey novel. Although
Yeah,
those are amazing, of course.
yeah, and I did interview a lot of the Del Rey authors that yeah that I always have a good time talking to Tim. Tim and I, I've known each other for a long time. Tim's on, um, and getting into some of the when in the Disney era, some of the newer authors, uh, Zoraida Cordova and E.K. Johnston and such. Um, Always wonderful to talk with them and just geek out. That basically it's all about geeking out and finding out kind of what they were thinking when they write, and where they wanted to go.
Yeah, sat down with E.K. Johnston recently, so definitely right with that. All the different details. She's a big fan of Lego Star Wars as well, so there's all the Easter eggs. Like they won't catch it. It's Lego, but they won't see it.
Yeah, I mean, she slipped Baby Shark in one of her books, so she definitely loves dropping things in.
Um, so do you have any other upcoming projects that folks can keep an eye out for?
Nothing right now. That I'm working on some things, but we'll see how they come out.
Uh, it was a pleasure sitting down with you, and if people want to keep up with your future work and what you're up to, where should they find you online?
Well, they can find me online. I'm on X/Twitter at James Jawa. Also the same on Instagram. Those are the main places that folks can find me and follow what I work. I run a podcast called Star Warsologies with my friend Melissa. We combine Star Wars and science. That every episode we bring on a different guest expert and talk about how their field of expertise connects to Star Wars. We've covered things from geology and psychology to brewing and dance and prosthetics. Uh, so it's really a lot of fun, and we do a lot of panels at Celebration and San Diego Comic-Con, and we turn those into episodes as well. So you can check us out, Star Warsologies. It's on pretty much all the main podcast platforms, Apple, Amazon, um, Spotify, all that, and then Star Warsologies on Twitter and Instagram as well.
We'll definitely check it out. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. It was a pleasure. And hope to have you on again someday. Talk about whatever you're up to in the future for Star
All
Wars.
right, yeah, and I'm really excited for Star Wars Crossword Puzzles. I hope you all enjoy it.